What's up, everybody? I'm Amber. Today I'm going to show you how to download Darktable from scratch, even if you are a complete 100% beginner. Let's go. Make sure you're on the official Darktable website, which is just darktable.org. And when you get there, you're going to kind of scroll down to the middle-ish of the page where it says Windows, and the top option says Darktable 5.6.0. Don't worry if you happen to see a different number here or a different version. I'm downloading version 5.6, but if you're watching this video from the future, it may be an updated version. The main thing you need to know is that you want the version that's for Windows, and it's the one that ends in .exe. If you're not seeing any of those options that I just mentioned, it's possible that you might be on a different site. There is another website called darktable.info that I accidentally landed on when I was starting this process. If you go to the download options here, it ends up taking you to a GitHub repository where you can download a nightly build of Darktable. That's not anything that you want as a beginner. Trust me. You want to make sure that you're at the darktable.org/install page. I'll put a link in the description of this video just so there's no confusion, but that's where you want to start from to get the official stable version of Darktable and not something that's updated nightly by developers. Okay, we're back on this page. This is what it should look like if you're downloading the correct thing. And in the upper right hand corner, you should have a little box that's showing the progress of your download. If that happens to disappear, you can go to the downloads folder on your computer and it should show the same file there once it's done. When it's finished, you just click open file, and that should pull up a setup box like this in another pop-up window. You're pretty much just going to click next through these options, but the one thing I did check here was to create a desktop shortcut. That way I can find it later. It's going to tell you what folder is going to install it on your computer. And if you want to change that, you can. I just clicked next. It'll take a few minutes for this to download depending on your internet speed. Once this is done, you can just hit finish, or you can uncheck for it to open the user manual. I'm choosing to not have it open the user manual this time, but if you ever need it once it's downloaded, you can still get there once you have opened the program. It should take a few minutes for this to all set up, and that's okay. Darktable is setting up things on your computer kind of in the background, and that's fine. Okay, once your download is complete, it's going to pop up another window that moves you through several screens that ask for your preferences and how you want Darktable set up. If you make a mistake or you decide later on that you want to change any of this, you always can just by going to the Preferences tab in Darktable. The first option here is to auto-apply pixel workflow defaults. We're going to leave this as just scene-referred sigmoid for now. You can change it later, but there's no need to get into anything in depth there. Okay, the next page is going to ask where you want the photos that you've newly imported to be stored on your computer. So Darktable, as you make edits, actually creates a second file called an XMP file. This is basically asking where do you want that to be stored as it's creating them that are attached to your photos. So I normally just leave this as the default folder. If you want to change the folder that your pictures are saving in, you just click the little folder icon, and then from the left-hand side, you can choose whatever folder you want it to be saved in, whether it stays on your local disk or if you have an external hard drive or something like that, you can choose it. Once you get back to this screen, then you're just going to hit next. The next screen talks about those XMP files that I just mentioned. So Darktable is going to make an XMP file every time you make changes or edits to a photo so that your underlying photo isn't damaged. So this is going to ask, when do you want Darktable to create those XMP files? You kind of have two options. You can have it create them when you import the photos, or you can have them create that XMP file after you start editing the photos. You also have another option to just never have XMP photos where it's only stored in Darktable's database. I wouldn't really recommend that because if your Darktable gets corrupted or crashes and you have to re-download it, you're going to lose all of your stored edits. You won't be able to get those back for your photos. So I would always recommend choosing either on import or after edit for XMP files to be created. That way your edits to your photos are actually stored on your computer somewhere. I usually choose on import just because then I know as I import photos, it's making those files. And then whenever I go to make changes, it's just one less thing to worry about. Okay, bear with me for this next one. This is going to require some explaining. So Darktable, once you get inside the program, has two different modules. There is the light table area and then there's the darkroom area. Light table is the section where you can choose which photos are good or bad. You can apply a few quick edits at a glance, and you can delete, export. You do a lot of like your main actions from there, but not the deep photo editing. So this question is basically asking, do you want to be able to choose a star rating for a photo or delete a photo just by hovering over the photo and then clicking delete or whatever? Or do you want to have to be clicked onto that photo? Do you want the photo to have to be selected before you're able to delete or make changes? So I chose for this one to be disabled. So I unchecked the prioritize the hovered image over the selected images. Basically, I don't want any priority to be given to an image that I just happen to have my mouse on top of, because I all the time will hit the wrong button on the keyboard and I don't want to accidentally delete or change a rating for a photo that I want to keep just because I have my mouse hovered over a photo. However, this is like all the other changes. If you don't like it after you get in and play around with it, you can always come back and change it again later. No big deal. Okay, this is a huge one. I'm so glad that they made this change. I had a whole video addressing how to do this before because it was one of the most frustrating things about Darktable when I first started. When you opened Darktable by default initially in the past, your mouse wheel wouldn't scroll up and down the page like it normally would. Instead, whatever value you happened to be hovered over, let's say your mouse was sitting on top of the slider for exposure, when you tried to roll the mouse wheel up or down, it would change the exposure of your photo. So it was super frustrating. I was accidentally changing values all the time. So definitely I would suggest checking this one. And if you decide you want to change it later, you can always come uncheck it. But having the ability to be able to scroll up and down in the module side panel to look for things that you're wanting to be able to edit photos is much more helpful, I feel like. Okay, this next one is the Darktable theme. There's options here and you can play around with what you like the best. I typically like darker because I get migraines and I'm usually working in the dark, so darker makes it a little bit easier. The screen's less bright, it's easier on my eyes. But gray is actually the best for accurate color work. So this just changes the background around your photo, and you'll see once you get into the Darktable panel. For right now, I'm choosing the dark theme just because this is a tutorial and it's a little bit easier to see. So congratulations. If you've made it through all this, you're set. There is an option here on this page to click the user manual to learn more. However, when I clicked it, it took me to a 404 error page, which means the website's broken. There is a working copy of the user manual on the Darktable website, so don't worry if you need it, it's available there. If you finished all the steps up to this point, you should be looking at a screen that now looks like this, which honestly looks quite scary. There's information and arrows everywhere. I'm actually going to be recording a part 2 of this video where I show you exactly how to go through this section of the Darktable opening screen, and I kind of walk through what each of these options does and how to get everything set up for a first-time user. And then we'll go through how to import your first photos and then how to start editing those as well. So I'm going to turn this into a little bit of a mini series, and I would love to have you join me on the journey. So subscribe if you haven't yet. Hit the thumbs up button for this video if you don't mind. And as always, thanks for watching and happy editing.